Welcome to Season 2 of the Craft Beer Connoisseurs Podcast. I'm Tyler. If you're new to the podcast, we're three friends and a producer who like to showcase craft breweries and their beers. Also, we like to end every episode with a short conversation on a variety of different topics. If you're not new to the podcast, well, welcome back. We will keep things similar to Season 1. After all, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Whether you're new or returning, please feel free to listen to all of our Season 1 content. And remember, to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now for today's episode. Welcome to the Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Tyler.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Brett, and along with us today is a producer who is racing in on his cart, Mario.
Jeez Louise.
Some would say he's super. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Royal City Brewing Company out of Guelph, Ontario.
Yeah, and as always, we're going to be having two beers today. Shocker to everybody.
We are.
The first one is called Bootleg, which is a cream ale. And then the second is Goldie, which is a hazy dry hopped pale ale.
And to finish up the episode, we're going to talk about Remembrance Day.
All right, and we're back. So, Royal City Brewing is located at 199 Victoria Road, South, Unit C8.
Super specific.
Right, which is at the corner of York and Victoria. So just a few minutes drive from the University of Guelph. And we're going to see this kind of theme run throughout. We're talking about Remembrance Day. There's going to be a connection to England. So you see a lot of that, again, even with the street that they're on is Victoria.
Yeah.
So we'll see that kind of go throughout the episode.
Yeah, definitely. So the brewery actually opened in 2014. So again, one of the older kind of breweries. It was founded by Russell Bateman and Cameron Fryer, who were friends for over 20 years. Russell brought his experience from owning his own plumbing business. That would be good for setting up the brew house. Yep. And Cameron from having once previously worked at Great Lakes in Toronto, so knowing how to brew.
So does anybody
Could you imagine?
know?
Wait, can you imagine being friends for 20 years? God, we're like halfway there, and I'm thinking,
how could you bear somebody for that long?
I'm about ready to be
I
done.
have no idea. So you guys want to guess how the brewery came to be?
Probably home brewing.
Oh.
Seems like the stereotypical thing, right? Yeah?
You got it. Bingo.
Yes. So they had made a bunch of unique concoctions at home, 80 liters at a time. And Bateman decided to go into business because, well, it's a lot easier to sell beer than it is plumbing services.
Beer
wrong.
over pipes?
I guess, yeah. Sure.
So they're doing 80 liters at a time at home. Like, that's a lot of beer.
It's a fair amount.
Back in the day. This is back before the...
No, I know, but
so.
I don't know where I would put 80 liters of anything in my house.
I'm hoping there was a huge shed.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah.
That's only 20 liters a piece if we broke it in between the four of us, right?
That's good math.
So I'm thinking if we did the same thing, we could have 20 liters of beer, and I'd be okay with that.
No, 20 liters of beer, sure, but I'm saying, like, where do you put it to brew it, Like, do you have an 80-liter pot?
The front lawn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So let's talk a little bit about Royal City itself. So do we want to kind of talk about some of their awards?
They've won a few.
They have won quite a few, actually.
All right. Get us kicked off. Why don't we start with gold?
Yeah, let's start with gold, obviously, number one. So they have won gold for their Exhibition Session IPA at the Canadian Brewing Awards and the Ontario Brewing Awards. And that beer, a gold award winner, can be found in the LCBO if you're looking for it.
Nice.
Their Oktoberfest Lager at the Ontario Brewing Awards.
So next year, you're going to want to probably get that beer.
Yes, because I'm not sure that they would have it anymore.
Right.
The Hibiscus Saison, again at the Ontario Brewing Awards. And the newest award, in 2021, they won gold for their Kibosh Baltic Porter. And so that's usually available in January. So coming up, you might be able to get it again in 2022.
Nice. That is very interesting stuff. Yeah. So, we could talk about the bronze, and then we've got some notes here from our producer about kind of aesthetics and just being there. So the bronze, they had the double. Is that right?
That is correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's Canadian Brewing Awards and the OBAs as well. And the smoked honey, which was at the OBAs. So that would be an interesting beer, that smoked honey.
Yeah.
Yes, I have had it, actually. I'll get into that in a bit.
Oh, very nice. Little teaser.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about our producer's experience at the brewery before
Well,
we
the
kind of move on?
producer decided one day in the middle of July to go to Royal City.
Did he take his go-kart up there?
I don't know. I think he was dropping some bananas behind him.
Yeah.
Did he go alone or did he have his friend Luigi?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you never know.
Maybe Princess Peach? I don't know.
What a date.
So, yeah, exactly, right? So he was there summer with obviously COVID restrictions inside, so the patio slightly down from their brewery where it overlooked the road. Nice little spot, had some lights over top. There's a rock climbing business right beside, apparently. So I don't know if Mario likes rock climbing, but I'm assuming he didn't go. Yeah.
Had to rescue Princess Peach probably from the rock
And
fire.
I was there about 4 years ago. I don't remember too much about it, just because it was a quick kind of grab some couple. It's before I started documenting my beers on Untapped.
Yeah. I've never been myself. I have been to Guelph in the University of Guelph area, but I've never actually been to the brewery.
Yeah, I've not been to the brewery either. And in fact, I've not had any of their beers before. So this will
That
be
is going to change today, my friend.
It will change. This will be a new experience for me.
So speaking of beers that we've had, Brad, I think you've had the most with producer Mario. So why don't you go over yours and the producers, and then we don't have to talk about Chris's, obviously.
No, we don't. That's going to be a short segment there. So we talked about the Session IPA, the exhibition. I've had that. Ironically, both times at my brother-in-law's house. I don't know, maybe he really likes the beer too. The Bootleg, which we're going to have a little bit. The Smoked Honey, definitely a unique beer, I will say. I'm not a big fan of honey or things being smoked.
Okay.
But I actually find it not too bad.
Good.
And Hibiscus Saison, I mean, obviously it kind of just flies together. Hibiscus is in a lot of Saisons if you really look at it.
It's true.
It's, again, that spice, that yeast that you normally would expect.
Okay. Now what about the producer? You're going to do them as well?
Producer, yes. Yep. So he has had the Session exhibition as well. The Berserker Sour. Interesting. The Cream Ale. Must be a different cream ale than the one that we're going to review today, because Bootleg is a cream ale. And the Celebrating Sisters Session IPA, all on draft in July. I'm going to think that he might have got a flight.
No. Big shake of the head. He had 4 pints, sounds like.
Princess Peach must have been dry.
Definitely was with Princess Peach there.
Had the 150cc card out. She's I can handle this. Don't worry. We won't jack it up any higher than that. Absolutely. I myself have only had the one, so I've only had the Saison. So, and we talked about Chris's extensive beer list here as well. So.
Yeah.
And done.
So there are 359 beers that Royal City has created, at least according to Untapped, right?
According to Untapped, yeah.
So the highest, I guess, kind of with the most amount of ratings, is that what we're kind of going with?
That's a decent amount of ratings.
Decent amount?
You can't judge it off one
Like
having
3 ratings.
Like 3 ratings.
For sure. Yeah. Would be the Riverside, and that was 488 ratings, and it came in at 3.84. And the barrel, unfortunate name, Brett Quad, which is a 10% Belgian quadruple, at 357 ratings was 3.8. So,
that's true.
Which, I mean, for a Belgian quad, that's pretty good at 3.8. I think that would 10% too.
Yeah. Oh, you want to crush those? That's for sure. No, kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Royal City is again another brewery that tries to entrench themselves into the community via their Community Connector series. So they state that we recognize that we are just one small part of a much larger community. We value our place here and strive to be a good neighbor. So we partner with local community groups to connect with, support, and highlight the great work that they do for Guelph and those within it. So some of those groups in 2021 collaborations would include The Seed, Guelph, Families in the Sister Spirit, the Guelph Humane Society, and Adopt a Hop.
Adopt a Hop.
Nice. So we definitely would be remiss if we didn't mention, as we kind of talked about, we're going to talk about Remembrance Day in this episode as well. This episode is being released on Remembrance Day. So they do have a November collaboration at the brewery, which is with Wounded Warriors Canada. And they created the Remembrance Red Ale. So basically, 50 cents from each can and a portion of draft sales of the Remembrance Red Ale sold is donated to Wounded Warriors Canada. So over the last 5 years, they've been able to donate over $40,000. So, yeah.
That's huge.
Big props. So it's available in their retail store, their online web store, and for a very limited time in local and select LCBOs. So if you're lucky enough to be near an LCBO with the Remembrance Red Ale, pick it up.
For sure. So speaking of the LCBOs, you can also find Bootleg, Smoked Honey, and Exhibition in many of the LCBOs that kind of are in this local area at least.
Yeah.
Ordering from the brewery, there's a bunch of different free delivery options. So and that's basically inclusive of Southwestern Ontario, outside the Guelph area. So keep in mind, it is a $40 minimum purchase, which doesn't take too long to get there, especially if you're going to be picking up some of these Remembrance Red Ales.
Absolutely.
And some of that money gets kicked back to that Wounded Warriors.
Yeah, and we'll to mention about the ordering and their delivery. So they do actually deliver to London bi-weekly.
Right. Yep.
So that's how they delivered the beers to us today. So it would have been cool to have the Remembrance Red Ale on the episode, but it was released a little bit too late for them to get it to us.
So, speaking of their delivery, I believe they did give us a little gift.
Yeah.
There was a
Present,
gift, yeah.
if you will, which will I open now. I'm just going to... Let's open her up, as some would say.
Stick to ASMR.
Yeah.
This is true. There is some pins. Small pins.
Oh, nice little pins.
And, of course, some stickers and some coasters.
Awesome.
We love the
We
coasters.
do love a good coaster, let me tell you. So speaking of the brewery itself, otherwise known as the wardroom when you go inside, is open for visitors again, obviously, because COVID restrictions are kind of loosening. Monday to Wednesday from 12 till 7, Thursday to Saturday from 11 till 9, and Sunday 12 to 7. And if you're wanting any more information from the brewery in terms of upcoming releases, special events, or maybe even just some fun facts, want to subscribe to their newsletter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should.
You should.
You definitely should.
You should.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, as always, we're going to link to their information on our social media.
All right, let's move on to our first beer. A big shout out and thank you to Miranda from Royal City for coordinating us to have the beers on today's episode.
Thanks,
Yes, thank you.
So just a little history on cream ales. before we
Okay,
get into,
take us back.
The bootleg. So this style of beer was prevalent in the 1800s in Canada and the United States.
I remember that time.
Yeah, good. It was often brewed by ale brewers to compete with lagers. Cream ales were one of those few regional North American styles that survived Prohibition and was widely sold illegally during the Great Experiment. Fun fact, it has nothing to do with cream.
Interesting, because some of the cream ales are actually creamy.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Prohibition, bootleg. Very nice.
Makes sense.
Like the connection. So Royal City's version of a cream ale is called bootleg, as we've mentioned many a time. The ABV is 5.5% and 20 IBUs. So it is described as pouring a bright straw color with ample white head that leaves lots of lacing on the glass. Aromas of cereal, grain, and herbal. Grassy hops escape the glass while you're drinking it, so that's kind of nice. We'll see how that kind of comes through. On the swallow, which is an interesting way of
I
putting
never
things.
heard that term.
Gulp. you should get some sweet grain in like a Wonder Bread kind of character, which is kind of cut by a herbal hop bitterness. So the beer finishes quickly with a hint of bitterness, and that's probably come through from some of those hops. And I guess we'll see if we get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bootleg comes with 6-row barley malt, cornflakes, and Saz hops, which provide the herbal character. And it's brewed with escarpment Kolsch yeast.
Yes. So, on Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. But speaking of Untapped, with the Bootleg Cream Ale, there seems to be two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bootleg Cream Ale and Bootleg Cream Ale 2021. So, somebody done screwed up here.
And they're the same,
they're
other
the same,
than the
yes.
name. Yeah.
So the producers went to a lot of hard work and has combined both of these into one. So good for him. So combination of the two, the Bootleg is rated 3.63, bottle caps out of 5, with 494 total check-ins.
Nice.
Good.
All right. It's everybody's favorite part, I presume, because it's mine, so it must be everybody's. Let's grab the can, grab your glass, and let's open her up. And the pour.
Let's pour it into our pint glass. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
I don't want to screw this up.
By not pouring into the glass?
By having a crisp pour, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the same as not pouring into the glass.
True.
What do you guys see? What do you guys smell?
Looks like we all kind of have the same pour here.
Yeah, very
Right?
consistent.
Little bit ahead, and like I can almost see right through this. Like this is crystal clear. Almost looks like a lager or a Kolsch, right? We mentioned Kolsch in terms of what was it? The Kolsch yeast.
Yep.
Yeah. So it looks like a Kolsch basically.
And you can definitely see the carbonation coming through along with the, I think I see a couple cornflakes in here. Which is nice.
Some light straw color, which is
Yeah.
what they said. So I basically, as I read it, is kind of what we're getting, I think, right? And we'll see about the lacing as we go through the drink. On the nose, what are you guys picking up? Anything? Kind of that grainy, bready
Yeah,
kind of.
definitely that grainy, like Wonder Bread cereal kind of vibe for sure.
Yeah, and kind of that. They mentioned floral, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit of
I'm getting that floral,
Herbal floral,
yeah,
yeah.
herbal kind of smell. Yeah.
I'm really picking up that cornflake. And again, I don't know if this is just mind over matter. And my mind's thinking to myself, we mentioned cornflakes?
Did you have cornflakes this morning, and you're just like it's still stuck in your brain?
No, I don't.
You don't eat.
I
That's
don't
right.
eat.
Yeah.
They do say, though, that this beer would pair well with grilled cheese
I've had
Oh.
that twice this week.
and wings.
Where was this beer 2 nights ago?
Yeah. In my fridge.
Actually, I believe that. And also, you're supposed to share this beer with friends.
Well, we'll see if we can find any.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any rum runners around, but we're also supposed to share with them, too.
Yeah, if we have any friends that want to come drink a pint with us,
We're open.
put your name forward on the Craft Beer Connoisseurs Instagram. Slide into the DMs,
Absolutely.
let us know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get sipping, fellas.
Yeah. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
Let's get on the swallow.
And how does it taste on the swallow, Chris?
Let me get one more.
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler?
Yeah. This isn't, again, I guess it's not more like a traditional cream ale. I'm not really getting the whole creaminess. Again, cornflake, I'm picking that up huge.
Yeah. Cornflake breadiness. It's definitely not like other cream ales that I've had.
No,
It's
I agree
it's
with
quite
that.
unique.
And I think it's a good thing, too. It has a different, distinct style, if you will, right?
Yep.
Remember, cream ales don't really involve cream, right?
Right.
I just told you that literally like 5 minutes ago.
What do you get? What are you getting?
What am I getting?
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting that. It's a clean beer for sure. Number one,
Yes.
definitely clean. Definitely getting that breadiness, that graininess. I like it. I think maybe it would be one of those things. I wish I could have it off a tap as well, or maybe
Yeah.
throw it through the physics.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
kinda
that's
see.
true.
That'd be interesting.
Maybe
yeah.
get a little bit better on it. But
So you're talking about, Tyler, how you might just have cornflakes like stuck in your head because we mentioned it. I'm thinking the same. Maybe it's the same for me with the Kolsch, but like Kolsch's kind of have like almost like an apple flavor, and I'm getting like a tiny bit of that.
Okay.
I could see where you're going from, kind of like that borderline between a cream ale and a Kolsch here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cream Kolsch.
Yeah, I
It
think,
kind of straddles that line.
yeah, I think also as I'm going through this a little bit too, is I'm getting that herbal, but it's also the bitterness. Like, are you guys getting a cut of bitter?
Yeah, right
back
at
Right
the
at the
end.
end? Yeah, okay. So, I mean,
It's not just you.
okay. Thanks, guys. Real good support network. But yeah, I'm really getting that bitterness just kind of come through in the end. And it's not off-putting, but again, for myself, is it's not adding a whole lot to this kind of cream ale. And maybe if it was just a little bit more subdued or kind of like throughout the whole sip, it might kind of come through a little bit differently. And just because it's coming with more of a heavier punch at the end for myself.
Yeah.
Producer Mario.
Yeah.
He thinks this beer is very refreshing. Has some breadiness to it, crisp. Does get the cornflakes out of it.
Yeah.
And then also that herbal floral that, Chris, you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I get a little bit of that as well. So in terms of what's on the top 5 flavor profiles, I don't know if Mario combined the flavor profiles from the 2 beers, but
I don't know. Talk to Princess Peach.
this is what we've got. So number 1, you mentioned this, Brett, is clean. I mean, I think it is clean, goes down clean and smooth, right?
Yep.
Number 2 is creamy. So this one, I'm not getting any creaminess at all.
Same here.
Yeah, and I go back to your comment earlier, is whether it's more like the kolschiness or just straight up ale, more so than it is the kind of a cream ale in my mind. At
And
least.
also, I think a lot of the Untapped users, when they see a cream ale, they're automatically going to put in creamy because it's signified as a cream ale.
They
Right,
expect
right.
it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then once a few people put it, everyone's just kind of selecting
this,
it
tag
as well.
this, tag this.
Yeah. Number 3 is light.
It's a light beer. Yeah.
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 And it drinks light too.
Yeah,
and
5.5. Yeah.
It's 5.5%. Like it goes down really light. Number 4, malty. Like I get that. Maybe I would replace that with bready, right? Like I think that's what people are kind of getting at, right?
Yep.
And then the last one is fruity. So
You did mention an apple earlier.
There was a
Yeah.
little bit of apple, but like
Not enough.
I don't think it's number 5.
I do understand though, like that apple is kind of coming in. I do see what you mean there, Chris.
Yeah, I would almost replace. I don't know if apple's a flavor, but I would put apple.
Apple crisp. There you go.
Yeah, and then I would say we'd certainly want to put bitter in there somewhere.
I was just going to say I'd either go with the fifth one being the herbal or bitterness, and I go both ways on that one.
Yeah.
Instead of like apple-y or apple or crispy or
Absolutely. Well, enough about our thoughts. Let's turn over to some Untapped users in terms of their thoughts. Chris.
I have the first one. So the first one is from Matthew O. Username is Matt Kello. On October 15th, said malty, citrusy with a crisp, mild hop, and Matthew gave it a 3.75 out of 5.
Does anybody get the citrus out of this?
No,
Not really,
that
no,
I'm
like-
not getting.
Yeah. I don't know. Got it.
All right. So I got the second one. So the second one is Aaron P. Handle A. Polsky on October 24th. Always a fan of cream ales, and this one did not disappoint. 4 out of 5. So there isn't a whole lot to kind of go off of with those two reviews.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Yeah, there was not a whole lot, I don't think.
Yeah.
Producer Mario, he was trying.
trying. There's only so much we can do when the Untapped users don't
Especially
give us
when
a
he's
lot.
racing a lot.
Yeah, for sure. He's had to get that circuit done. So I'm going to get us started with our ratings on this one. So I see where they're going with it. I don't really feel like it falls into that creamy ale kind of profile, if you will. So because of that, I'm going to come in with a 3.
All right, I'll go next. I started out lower than what I'm gonna end up with, and as I'm drinking it, I think I went a little higher. So
Speaking of as you're drinking
Yeah.
it, there's more lacing. Just wanted to kind of point
yes,
that out. Right?
they mentioned lacing. There's quite a bit of lacing.
And he
So
gets to drink more of it because it's all in your glass this time.
Got him.
yeah, I poured it properly. Thank you, Brett. So in terms of my rating, I'm also gonna be at a 3.
Okay. For me, I'm going to rate it the exact same as what I had previously on Untapped, which would be a 3.5. Producer Mario, he's the only person who's had it off the tap. So I remember how I had mentioned how I like to have this beer off the tap. Seems like he has, and his rating is staying the same at a 3.25.
All right. So that's going to give us a team overall score for Untapped of 3.1875. We're going to bump that up to a 3.25.
Yes, we are. So let's move on to beer number 2. All right, the second beer we're having today is called Goldie, which is a hazy dry hop pale ale coming in at 5.0 ABV and 30 IBU.
Yeah. So this is brewed with maybe 3 of the best hops,
Maybe.
right? We've got Citra, we got Galaxy, we got Chris's favorite, Vic Secret. So yeah, they're dried hop with kind of both the Citra and Vic Secret, along with a Mandarinia Bavaria, which is kind of like utilizing the foggy London yeast, again from Escarpment Labs. So we've discussed that previously before on another episode.
yes.
So I encourage you to listen to all of our episodes so that way you can find it. It's like a Where's Waldo?
Scavenger hunt, yeah.
Yeah, find it and let us know.
Absolutely. So this beer, going back to this one, pours like a hazy orange juice with a beautiful head full of tight bubbles.
Ooh.
The nose is full of tangerine, lemon cake. Man, I'm really hungry for lemon cake now. Pineapple, mixed berry punch, and mango.
It's a lie. That's all I
That is a lot.
The taste follows the nose with big tropical notes along with some berry and orange highlights. And the beer finishes with a hint of bitterness that balances the fruit notes.
Would you say that's on the swallow?
Yeah,
I knew it. I saw you prep it. I saw you posturing, and I was like, I'm going to get the funny.
All right. Well, on Tapped, there are 182 check-ins to this beer with an average rating of 3.66 bottle caps out of 5.
I'm really hoping Tyler can do this in like his best Mario voice.
No. I don't want to take away from Mario himself. So is it Mario or Mario?
I honestly don't know.
You keep saying Mario, so there you go.
Well, he can't tell us what he prefers because he has no voice. So.
No, it's true.
It's true.
All right, can in one hand, glass in the other hand. Let's open her up.
Might have to talk to Luigi or Yoshi in order to figure out what he prefers.
I got a big whiff there on the nose, but we'll talk about that after you talk about the glass there, Chris.
Absolutely. So we're again drinking this beer out of a pint glass, so make sure to use your proper glassware.
A clean glassware, might we add?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, now you can smell it from far away, like 6 feet almost.
I'm same as you, Tyler. As soon as I cracked the can, I got a huge whiff of citrus.
That is a great aroma, though. Great aroma.
Oh, that smells delicious.
I'm excited for this, just based off the nose. Again, so when we look at it, it is a Goldie APA.
It is, yeah.
We have that hazy kind of tone to it. Again, a golden kind of complexion, if you will.
Yep, the hazy orange juice, as they described it, looks pretty similar to that.
Pretty spot on, if you will.
Yeah.
Brett, what do you get for the tight bubble formation?
With the head at the top, you can definitely see that the bubbles are very tight together.
You know what? I don't know why you guys are laughing. I was going to say it, but I was like, you know what? Let's throw Brett a bone here.
I just don't know that they're any tighter than other beers, but...
You know what? They are. They are, and maybe you'll take notice of this when we have another stout, but you can see with some of the stouts is like there is like a thicker bubble kind of like formation, right? So
or if you get a lactose IPA where they're more separated.
Yeah.
Might I add, I don't know if you guys have the same kind of head that I have on this, but they are tight for the first couple. Let's say the head itself is about a centimeter and a half. About half of that is tight bubbles, and then it loosens up to a little bit larger bubble formation. We're getting in depth. This is getting technical.
Some people would call that
very scientific.
Science.
Yeah.
Science rules. All right. On the nose?
I already talked about the nose because you can smell it as soon as it's poured.
Pure citrus, basically.
Yeah, pure citrus.
Good.
Well,
all right.
Let's taste it and see if we get that
Absolutely.
citrus coming through.
Let's do that. Oh, that manly mustache of Brett Pfeiffer's.
Yeah, let's point out that Brett is growing a Movember.
Hey, I am too.
Well, okay.
Brett came with one that was already pre-designed.
Yeah, a pre-grown mustache. Anyways, he got a little beer retention, head retention on his mustache. Yeah.
Always having a little head on his stash. What do you get from the taste there, Brett?
Well, the amount of it that went down the swallow, or in the swallow, if you will, was exactly how it was described. You know, hazy orange juice with maybe a little bit of grapefruit and some bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would say this is maybe a little bit more bitter than I was expecting it to be. And maybe that partly comes from, the grapefruit portion, because grapefruit is citrusy, but can be a little bitter as well. But yeah, definitely get that citrus as I drink it.
So, with that comment, kind of going back to the last one that we had, that bootleg cream ale, this here, in my opinion, I do get the bitterness aspect.
Yep.
But again, it plays better with the flavor profile that is coming forward. So, when I drink this, I do get the bitterness, but again, it is masked or kind of like throughout the sip. It's not just like like a little bit of a punch.
It's like cut by the citrus a little bit. Yeah.
So I feel like it's done way better in this than it was the bootleg, personally.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Again, this is where you get that kind of flavor profile, and we'll talk about that here in a second, and kind of like moving it in with the bitterness, so it's less kind of predominant. Brett, you got something you want to say?
The one thing I would say is I feel as though this beer is very, very acidic. Let me get that vibe as well.
Citrusy. I could see it with the grapefruit, right?
Yeah.
Very acidic kind of fruit.
I think that just, kind of comes with the territory of having a lot of citrus. And Mario is saying that he's thinking it drinks a little bit more like an IPA versus a pale ale. So I definitely get where he's coming from, especially with that extra bitterness than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So the top 5 flavor profiles. Number 1, hoppy.
I don't find it really hoppy.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the hoppiness is contributing to the bitterness that I was talking about, but I wouldn't put it number 1.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like, again, if we're talking top 5, it's 5 at best.
Right.
I don't find it very hoppy. I see it kind of more just there's other flavors that kind of come out.
Number 2, citrus. I mean, this is number 1 for me by all means, but
Yeah, me,
That or juicy.
Me too.
Yeah, I can alternate between the two.
and number 3 is juicy, so we might as well just combine everything in.
Right.
Yeah.
Number 4, grapefruity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of grapefruit in this beer.
And number 5, grapefruit peel, which I was surprised to see was a tag that you could use on Untapped. But
Well,
this is
Makes
here.
sense. Makes sense. I mean, there's a difference between like an orange and an orange rind, right?
Yeah, and I think even again that peel flavor might be contributing to the bitterness. Now, one thing I think we talked about in the description of the beer was lemon cake, I think it was.
That's correct.
And I'm not getting really any lemon coming through on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah. On the very back end, as it sits here.
Yeah.
If you take a sip, let it sit for a second. On the back end, I feel like there's more of that like lemony cake kind
I
of
feel as
flavor.
I'm getting
come
more
through a
lemon than
little
I
bit.
would be about that berry that was talked about.
Yeah, I don't get the. I don't get
Yeah,
the.
no
I think
berries.
it's a really good call. I don't get the berry. And producer Mario is also
Mario Lemieux.
is also in agreement with that too. It's just I struggle with that hoppiness being the number one. I don't see it personally. I think that this does a really good job of balancing the flavors. Grapefruit is obviously going to stand out.
Yeah.
Lemony kind of comes through. The mixed berry aspect, no dice, but yeah.
I would say when we post this on Untapped, like I would be inclined to do like 6 or 7 flavor profiles on this
If we
beer.
could, yeah.
Honestly,
For sure, yeah.
Well, you can do more than 5, right? Like,
True, yeah.
You can do as many as you want.
like I feel like this is hitting on a ton of different flavors. This is actually a really good beer.
Speaking of really good beer, then, let's see what the Untapped users think. Brett, you got the number one.
I do, yes. So this one's from Simon C. and his
They're going to say Simon Says.
maybe. Well, he's going to say something in a second here. And his tagline or user handle, tag handle, whatever you want to call it, is Sack Yori. On October 20th, said insane tropical taste. Well, taste? English, very hard. Insane tropical taste, very heavy body. Is it me? Or is it a New England IPA? Maybe I was too drunk. Anyway, insane beer. Here's what I get, though.
Yeah.
Insane beer. But the guy rated it a 3.25 out of 5.
How many check-ins did Simon say? Did we check that out?
I did not check that out, but I don't know if he's
We'll get
rating with-
what we'll do is we'll get producer Mario on that one to see how many check-ins they had, because maybe 3.25 is an insane
insane
beer.
beer.
Right.
Right?
3.25 out of 5.
It's
I don't know.
all subjective.
Yeah, we'll circle back on that. Maybe he's not in the Brett school of rating beers.
It's an insane beer. I'm going to rate it a 5, not a 3.25.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
True.
So the next one comes from Will N. Will Nut is the handle. So on October 16th said it goes really good with garlic bread. Good grammar. For some reason, it's a 3.5 on its own, but a 4 with some garlic bread.
Wow.
So. That's interesting. So he did rate it a 3.5 out of 5 at the Woolly Pub, which is actually an Untapped verified venue.
Can we take a second here just to kind of break this down?
Yeah.
Goes really good with garlic bread, which, with that being said, I would assume that they had it with garlic bread, right? They had
I
it
would
with the garlic-
assume so, yes.
But it's a 3.5 on its own, but with the garlic bread, it's a 4, but then ended up rating it a 3.5, even though they had it presumably with the garlic bread.
Yeah, it's
correct.
a couple of interesting Untapped
So
comments
say, for
here.
example, you get some wings with that, like pairs well with the bootleg. Does
No,
it like a 3.75 or what?
Fife, you took it from me. What I was going to say is if you made a grilled cheese with garlic
yes.
bread,
Oh,
you
that's
could go
the bread.
back to
yeah.
back,
okay.
baby.
Okay.
Back to back.
And just producer Mario has been very much on it. Cycling back to my comment about Simon, 13 check-ins.
A plethora.
With 13
Active
years,
user.
his average is 3.18.
And 2 of those
Okay.
Uh,
were unrated.
Yes, 2 of those were nominated.
1.5.
He has 1 in 5, so
Yeah.
that must have been like, if an insane beer is 3.25,
Out of this world.
out of this world.
That was
we're
a
like,
goodbye
oh
gravity,
my
maybe.
God.
I want. Well, we're gonna see here.
Oh, he's put Molson in there, so that's not a 5 at all.
The 5 was a Molson beer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All right, well, to each their own, right? So,
Must have been real drunk for that one, apparently. He said he was too drunk for a 3.25.
Brett, do you have anything on the can that you want to talk about in pairings before we start firing off our own here?
Obviously, you can tell from the can that you already know it's going to be a citrus beer.
Yeah.
With the
Very
orange and
citrus
the
colors.
kind of lime green
Yep.
involved. Very basic, but also very attractive. If you were to walk, if this beer were to be in like an LCBO or go to the actual brewery itself, to Royal
Simple.
City,
Very simple.
Yeah, it
but
is
you know
simple.
you want to pick up one.
Very
for sure.
clean. Yep.
All right. Well, in terms of ratings, I'm a little bit confused why the overall rating is kind of low on this beer. To be honest, I really enjoy this beer. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Nice.
Okay. All right. For me, I am not a huge grapefruit person in terms of grapefruit forward, like this beer is. But I appreciate what they're doing here. Still like it. I'm going to give it a 3.75.
All right. And so for myself, I'm actually going to come in at, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm going to do a 4.5 as well. It was between a 4.25, 4.5, but again, it is very grapefruit forward. I enjoy grapefruit, so I can see
me
the
too.
discrepancies there. Producer Mario is coming in with a 4.25. So, Chris, what does that give us?
Well, that actually gives us an overall rating of 4.25. So no
Look
need
at
to
us
round.
squaring that up.
Yeah.
Look at us. So that concludes the review of Royal City and the beers that they provided for today's episode.
Nice. So, coming up next, we're going to be talking about Remembrance Day, as this is November 11th. All right, so today's episode is released on Remembrance Day, and coincidentally, there are several connections that kind of got uncovered during the research with this. So for our conversation, we're going to be taking a look at Remembrance Day and our connections with Remembrance Day. But before we begin, I want to go through the act of remembrance. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. So we've got some interesting facts, kind of coincidences as we went through the research here. So I'm
Yes.
going to hand the floor over to Brett. Brett's going to give maybe two kind of these connections with respect to Guelph as well as Remembrance Day
Absolutely.
and war times.
Yes. So Colonel John McCrae, and he wrote the poem In Flanders Fields, which I'm sure everybody has heard, was actually born and raised in Guelph.
Nice.
Yes. And Guelph was home to Canada's first Army Cadet Corps, and the year of its founding became part of its name, the 1882 Wellington.
Yeah, and also the HMCS Guelph was commissioned into the Royal Canadian Navy on May 9th, 1944, and this Flower-class corvette worked as an escort between Halifax and several U.S. ports before conducting escort duties between St. John's, Newfoundland, and Belfast in Northern Ireland. And the HMCS Guelph was awarded battle honors for the Atlantic in 1944 to 1945. And Guelph's police force had Canada's first municipal motorcycle patrol. Chief Ted Lamb brought back an army motorcycle he used during the First World War. And motorcycles back then were certainly faster and more efficient than walking.
I also feel they're
they still
still
are.
there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So that holds up to the test of time. So maybe we'll go through some kind of connections, maybe stories, whatever we have, whether it's school related or any of that jazz. Maybe I'll kind of get started off here. So connections to World War II. So I actually had two great uncles that participated in the World War II. The first one was Lance Sergeant William Franklin Sager, which he passed away March 3rd, 1945. So actually nearing the end of the war itself. So unfortunately he couldn't make it to the end. And he's commemorated with a bronze plaque on the cenotaph that's located in St. Mary's, Ontario. Just to kind of tie the connection together, which is the home of Broken Rail Brewery. So he is actually buried in the Netherlands, and my parents, I believe, were actually fortunate enough to actually go to the cemetery itself. The second one was Private Roy Edgar Sager. August 1st, 1944, he passed away. The unfortunate story with great uncle Roy, which I've never actually said until this time, was that he was actually married 6 months prior to his passing. So he got married, did the whole entire marriage thing, and then unfortunately 6 months later passed away in the war. And he, as well as William Franklin, was commemorated on a bronze plaque in the cenotaph located in St. Mary's, Ontario. Now, he did get some accommodations as well, 1939 to 45, the Star of France, Germany Star, the Defense Medal, a War Medal in 1939 to 45, the Canadian Volunteer Service Medal and Clasp, and he is buried in France. So those are some of the individuals that I kind of connect with when it comes to Remembrance Day and the war. Does anybody have any information following that, Chris?
Yeah, so really one of the biggest connections I have, I guess, to either of the world wars was in 2015, we took a family trip to England, and part of that we spent a couple days in France. And one of the things we did was went to Vimy Ridge. And it was actually, I don't want to say cool, but almost surreal being there, knowing just like what had taken place there. Right. There were signs out that said, "Don't walk on the grass because there could be live bombs there that explode." Like it was just so interesting
like
being
kind of
there.
surreal as well. Eh?
Yeah, and you see the Vimy Memorial in pictures or on our money, but to see it in person is really interesting. I also have a couple of family members who fought in both the First and Second World War, and we were able to visit their graves, which was really cool. They do an amazing job over in Europe maintaining the cemeteries. Like the lawn is immaculately cut. Everything is always so clean.
Right.
There's a book at each of the cemeteries that lists all of the individuals who are buried there. They really take it seriously and really pay their respects appropriately. So it was really awesome to see all that. And sometimes you're kind of just driving down the road and there's an old war cemetery, just on the side of the road, because they kind of just buried them wherever they were found, as right. bad as that sounds. But again, even if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's immaculately maintained.
So one thing to kind of go off of that, you mentioned Vimy Ridge, is my parents were fortunate enough to be there for the 100-year celebration in 2017. So there's a lot of great pictures that my dad took with that. And again, this is another opportunity to stop in Netherlands and France and see some of the family members there. So, Brett, why don't you take us back to maybe some like childhood memories and that.
So mostly for me, because I have had no family members participate in any war.
Right.
Most of my kind of connection to Remembrance Day is going through like school assemblies and laying poppies on the cross, the cenotaph,
right,
etc. Right. So you'd hear about the stories of people who had been in the wars.
From the veterans directly.
The veterans,
yep.
and that, or if you were to step foot in like a legion, like they'd always be able to tell you the story of what they had went through, right? So I know there's one person in particular that I listened to, at least 5 or 6 times, give me the story of what he actually did while he was in World War II, and it almost bring you to tears each time, right? Mm-hmm. Like even hearing. Like, not predominantly the same story, but like, same kind of experiences. Like, every single time you're like this person literally laid his life on the line for our country, for us to be what we are today.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and I think, what kind of working off of that is these ceremonies that we'd have, these assemblies that we'd have in school. I completely agree with you. I don't know, it hit different. Like, you knew it wasn't a normal assembly at school where you'd clap and you'd be kind of high-spirited. It was this somber kind of feeling that you'd go there, and it was a moment of reflection, and to, again, pay, respects to those who put their life on the line for us to be in the kind of country that we have today. And so a lot of respect goes to that. And I know producer Mario here is saying the same sort of thing, is that he had some great uncles as well that fought, in World War II. And some of those stories get lost, right? And that's the unfortunate part of just history and time, is some of these stories get lost. And I think it's respectful for us to always pay attention that you really are dedicated, unfortunately, one day a year to sit back and remember and maybe have these conversations. And I had a neighbor of mine as well that I'd go over, and he was in the war as well. And just I'd go over on just random days and have conversations and see what their experience was. And I think that was impactful and meaningful to them as well. I also had another great uncle on the other side that was told that he was unfit for the war. The guy lived to 96, 97 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And back then, you figure they were kind of taking anyone who wanted to fight, right?
So he was unfit, and then they lived to, like, as I say, 96, 97 years old. Right?
Absolutely. So one thing I will say to anybody who's lives in our country and has served us through wars in the military currently, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Simple as that.
And this year, as well as every year, make sure to buy your poppy and wear your poppy.
And I think that's probably a good place to leave it there. So we'll be back with our farewell, and lest we forget. All right, and that's going to be it for today's episode.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and any war veteran and thank them.
Yeah, absolutely. So from all of us in producer Mario, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris. And together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.